The Tang Dynasty is considered by many to be the golden age of ancient China. It was a powerful dynasty that saw many cultural advancements in poetry, art, and governance. It also had a unique period of extraordinary female influence, which modern Chinese pop culture referred to as the Hongzhuang Shidai, or red makeup era. This name was inspired by the modern phrase 红妆不让须眉, which literally translates to red makeup is not inferior to beards, with red makeup representing women and beards referring to men. The red makeup era began with the rise of the female emperor Wu Zetian. During this time, women across all levels of society held positions of power and influence, helping to shape the culture, laws, and political structure of the empire. And many women of this period became the main characters of history. In a previous video, I talked about two incredibly talented women from the red makeup era, the brilliant scholar official Shangguan Wan'er and the formidable political strategist Princess Taiping. But as a sharp contrast to these incredible women, there was another woman from this time period who was remembered in historical records as reckless, arrogant, and corrupt. This was Princess Anle. Princess Anle is known as the first beauty of the Tang Dynasty. But this title was not only meant to praise her beauty. Instead, it was a reflection of the extravagance and glamour that she lived in, as the most privileged and spoiled heiress of the red makeup era. Today, there is a common Chinese saying known as 富二代, which means rich second generation. It is a derogatory saying used to describe entitled children of wealthy parents. Princess Anle was the ultimate 富二代 of the red makeup era. She did not contribute to the advancement of the time period, but enjoyed most of its benefits. This was a princess whose every whim was backed by the full power of the dragon throne. This was a princess born into a family of trauma that pampered her. This was a princess born into a world where women held real power, establishing her ambition. Hey everyone, and welcome to Tea with Amy. Today we tell the story of the spoiled and destructive Princess Anle, whose rise and fall was the symbolic end of the red makeup era. The story of Princess Anle does not begin in the imperial palace of the emperor, but instead in a world of fear far away. In 684 CE, Princess Anle's father, Li Xian, was deposed from his position of emperor and exiled by his powerful mother, Wu Zetian. Li Xian and his wife, Lady Wei, were stripped of their titles and sent to the remote region called Fang Prefecture. Many people exiled by Wu Zetian did not live long after being exiled, so they traveled anxiously, expecting assassins to come after them at any moment. Around 685 CE, it was during this journey of despair that their youngest daughter, the Princess Anle, was born. According to historical records, the scene was one of total desperation. They were the imperial family, but they had nothing. Without even baby clothes or a blanket, Li Xian torn off his own outer shirt and gently wrapped his newborn daughter in the rough fabric. Li Xian named the child Li Guo'er, where Guo'er means wrapped, making her the wrapped child. This traumatic birth created a sense of failing that Li Xian would spend the rest of his life trying to repay. Both parents felt sorry for not giving their youngest daughter a proper life as an imperial princess. Historical records describe how they loved and pampered Li Guo'er, satisfying her every wish. This upbringing is often referred to as the source of Li Guo'er's entitlement and ignorance of consequence. Li Xian's exile was officially ended by Emperor Wu Zetian in 698 CE, and he was summoned back to the capital as the new crown prince. Li Guo'er was now a teenager, exchanging the rags of exile for the riches of the palace, and she was granted the princess title of Junzhu. Historical records state that Emperor Wu Zetian immediately took a liking to her, pampering her with privileges and favor. Li Gu'er saw her grandmother's rule as emperor, shaping her belief in female imperial power and setting the foundation for her ambition. Now that her father was the crown prince, it meant that she could also make a claim for the throne after him. It didn't matter that she wasn't a son. It was around this time that she was officially granted the name of Anle, which means peace and joy. It is believed that this name was a sign of her family's return to comfort and safety, and a symbol of her father's blessing for her. Ironically, Princess Anle may have experienced joy, but her life was definitely not one of peace. Princess Anle's ambition was immediately visible. She began to politically maneuver within the imperial palace, building relationships with and attempting to manipulate the sons of her uncle, Li Dan. She leveraged her influence to control what titles and powers her cousins would receive. She began asserting her authority over her generation of the imperial Li family. She was building a network of compliant relatives, paving her own path to the throne. But even while busy with political maneuvering, Princess Anle found time for scandal. Between 701 and 704 CE, Princess Anle began an affair with Wu Chongxun, the son of Wu Zetian's powerful nephew, Wu Sansi. This private affair became a major public scandal when it was discovered that Princess Anle had become pregnant. In 704 CE, a rushed but still extravagant wedding was held for them. While this wedding was born out of necessity, it became an important link between the imperial Li family and Wu Zetian's Wu family. This wedding also became a historical event that set an important precedent. The princess was allowed to ignore moral and social taboos without consequence. 6 months later, Princess Anle gave birth to a son, Wu Jizhi. In 705 CE, Emperor Wu Zetian was deposed during the Shenlong coup. Li Xian and Lady Wei were restored to the throne as Emperor Zhongzong and Empress Wei. The stage was set for Princess Anle. She was now the daughter of the emperor. Historical records describe Emperor Zhongzong as weak, and his second reign was immediately filled with political decay. Emperor Wu Zetian was gone, but her rule had fundamentally changed the court, leaving in place an environment that allowed women to hold powerful positions and exert direct influence on governance. This created the perfect opening for Empress Wei and Princess Anle's own ambitions. Empress Wei immediately began involving herself in state affairs. She emulated Wu Zetian's rise to power and sat behind a screen during court sessions to offer her input to the emperor and the court. Princess Anle went in a different but more destructive direction. She pushed forward a system of governance that was known as 斜风官, or slanted seal officials. This system was basically the open market sale of government jobs. Princess Anle sold thousands of official positions, from magistrate positions to provincial governor positions. These officials were known as slanted seals officials because their appointment documents were marked with a slanted seal. This indicated that their appointment did not need approval through the standard review process. She would personally draft edicts containing political appointments, grants of land, or pardons. It was said that she would cover the text of the decree with her hand and compel her father to sign it, without ever reading the contents. Some accounts describe positions being sold for as high as 300 guan of money, which could be 100 times of the average annual income of a common laborer. This meant that many of the sold positions were bought by wealthy merchants. At this time, government officials were typically restricted to scholars and the educated nobles. Merchants, on the other hand, were officially considered to be the lowest tier of society, as they fed on the work of others. By allowing merchants to instantly buy their way past academic training and family lineage was a complete violation of the social order. More importantly, this was a complete undermine of the meritocracy that Wu Zetian had worked so hard to push into the Tang Dynasty government during her reign. Historical records describe Emperor Zhongzong's court as being filled with incompetent officials that nobody could even recognize. It is important to point out that similar acts were already happening at court. Powerful government officials were already using their influence for patronage, and the Wu family was already selling favors. Princess Anle did not personally invent the act of selling government positions for money, but her operation was certainly the most blatant and rampant. In my video about Shengguan Wan'er and Princess Taiping, I had explained that the Tang Dynasty government split into three major factions during this time: the Tang Loyalists, the Imperials, and the Wu family. The Imperials and the Wu family teamed up to fight against the Tang Loyalists, and they were prominently led by Princess Anle, her husband Wu Chongxun, and her father-in-law Wu Sansi. Their corruption and power was so destructive that historians would later brand them as the infamous Three Great Villains. These three great villains would begin a new reign of terror that continued the methods left by Wu Zetian's own secret police. They purged those that opposed them in court, leading to the death and exiles of many government officials. They fabricated false charges and leveraged treason accusations to eliminate their enemies. Princess Anle had her power, but she needed a title to match it. In 707 CE, Princess Anle stunned the imperial court by demanding a title that had never existed before in Chinese history. She asked to be designated the crown princess. This was a direct challenge to the Tang Loyalists, who were fighting to restore the empire's patriarchal system after the rule of Wu Zetian. And not only that, her eldest brother, Li Chongjun, was already the crown prince. How could there be a crown prince and a crown princess at the same time? As expected, Princess Anle's demand was met with the full resistance of high-ranking officials, led by the Chancellor Wei Yuanzhong, to which Princess Anle famously replied, "Wei Yuanzhong is a stubborn old traditionalist and is not qualified to speak on these matters. Since Wu Zetian could be the emperor, why can't the daughter of the emperor be the crown princess?" But even with all of Princess Anle's influence and power, she could not ignore the objections of the court. She tried to convince her father to support her and outrule the court dissent. Emperor Zhongzong laughed and said, "Wait until your mother becomes the emperor, then I will personally establish you as the crown princess." Modern historians believe that Emperor Zhongzong meant this as a joke, but it seemed that Princess Anle did not see it that way. Instead, this was a signal that she had to help her mother, Empress Wei, become emperor first. But she still had to clear her own path. She had to get rid of the crown prince. Li Chongjun was the crown prince, but he was not born to Empress Wei and was instead born to a low-ranking concubine. This was the opening that Princess Anle leveraged to mock him for his inferior status. She worked with her husband, Wu Chongxun, to encourage their slanted CEO officials to ridicule and question the crown prince's legitimacy, going so far as to call him a slave. Li Chongqun was humiliated, and Princess Anle's escalating aggression made him fearful for his life. In August of 707 CE, Li Chongqun mobilized his forces, waging the Jinglong coup under the banner of removing corruption from the government. His forces quickly captured and executed Wu Chongxun and Wu Sansi, but Princess Anle escaped. Li Chongqun was killed after his failed coup, but the death of Wu Chongxun and Wu Sansi were actually met with applause by the imperial court. Princess Anle was enraged. Her husband and father-in-law were just killed, and the court was celebrating it? And how dare her inferior brother try to kill her? She must have been too kind and weak before. Everyone who stands in her way must die. After the disastrous Jinglong coup, Princess Anle and Empress Wei began a series of purges that targeted anyone who had previously supported the crown prince. Officials were demoted, exiled, or executed on fabricated charges. Some officials were accused of secretly praising the late crown prince. Others were accused of looking displeased during court sessions. Some officials were stripped of their ranks simply for hesitating during court sessions. Others were accused of harboring resentment because they had frowned during the announcement of Wu Chongxun's funeral rites. Even minor clerks were punished for failing to applaud loudly enough when Princess Anle entered the hall. These accusations did not need proof. they were not even investigated. Princess Anle's slanted seal officials were rewarded for extracting confessions. Historical records describe them carrying out arrests and beatings in the streets. Arrested government officials were beaten until their bones broke, then forced to sign statements admitting to fictional plots. Even palace servants were not spared. A maid was beaten to death after accidentally tearing Princess Anle's dress. A stable boy who failed to bow quickly enough was executed for insulting the imperial family. Artisans and court entertainers also suffered. A court musician who played a note off-key during a banquet was dragged out by guards and never returned. A palace painter who failed to flatter the princess' beauty was flogged so severely that he died a few days later. Princess Anle's temper had become a force of nature, unpredictable, explosive, and often fatal. The entire court lived in fear. No one dared speak honestly, because a simple complaint could be twisted into treason. The reign of terror was back in full force. But was there no one left who could stop Princess Anle? Shangguan Wan'er and Princess Taiping, two of the most powerful women of the previous decade, were still present in the court, but neither woman could openly resist. Shangguan Wan'er had administrative power, but she had no authority over military forces, or Princess Anle's slanted seal officials. Princess Taiping chose to remain silent and preserve her supporters, quietly waiting for the right moment to strike. Both women understood that any direct opposition would mean immediate execution. So even the empire's most influential women were forced into silence, watching as Princess Anle and Empress Wei dragged the government into chaos. And this brutality was not just limited to government officials. Historical records document that Princess Anle and her older sister, Princess Changning, would regularly kidnap the children of commoners and force them to serve as slaves in their massive estates. These kidnappings were uncovered by the censor Yuan Congyi, who was investigating the cases of corruption. Unfortunately, Emperor Zhongzong chose to side with Princess Anle and overruled Yuan Congyi's findings. Shortly after, Yuan Congyi was demoted and exiled, a clear warning to any other officials who dared to investigate the princess. In 710 CE, an official named Yan Qingrong submitted a public petition detailing the crimes of Princess Anle and Empress Wei. They immediately retaliated. Yan Qingrong was seized right outside the palace gate and beaten to death on the spot. There was no need to debate with political opposition. As a popular Chinese saying goes, if you can't fix a problem, then get rid of the person who is raising the problem. After Ye Qingrong's death, no one else dared to submit petitions. The court records describe that the government system had essentially stopped functioning. Many officials had stopped attending court entirely, claiming illness out of fear that an innocent comment could lead to their execution. Others deliberately avoided government work, fearing that making a correct judgment might attract Princess Anle's attention, while making an incorrect judgment could be labeled treason. With no one left willing to report problems, the court was silent, and there were no more problems. Princess Anle came to the conclusion that moral and political constraints made her weak. Only what she wanted mattered. In 708 CE, Princess Anle married the handsome Wu Yanxiu, who was a cousin of her deceased husband. Some accounts claim that Princess Anle was already in a relationship with Wu Yanxiu even before her husband's death. But that's not all. A shocking anecdote describes that even Empress Wei was enamored with Wu Yanxiu and ordered him to serve her in bed. This became one of the most famous examples of Princess Anle's depravity, with a mother and a daughter both sharing one man. And it wasn't just about who she wanted, it was also about what she wanted. Princess Anle initiated massive construction projects using the national treasury as her personal piggy bank. She forcibly conscripted civilian workers to build herself a lake, the Dingkun Pond, which was intended to rival the ancient imperial Kunming Pond. This lake was lined with jade and coral, with extravagant mansions and even a replicated mountain. This excess extended even to her religious practice. She spent massive fortunes creating private Buddhist retreats and sponsoring lavish religious rituals, ironically demonstrating her piety with her decadence. This opulence was believed to be partially driven by the competition with her own older sister, Princess Changning. While Princess Changning was not sent into exile with her parents back in 684 CE, she still had to live a muted life, far below her status as a member of the imperial family. When her father was restored as emperor in 705 CE, she was suddenly granted wealth, status, and power, just like Princess Anle. Both sisters would become notorious for their corruption, spoiled behaviors, and extravagant spending. What's interesting is that this shared indulgence in privilege did not make them kindred spirits. Instead, it turned into a vicious rivalry that became a public contest over who could show off the most material wealth. As an example, in 706 CE, Princess Changning had new mansions built that were so grand that Princess Anle became upset that they were better than her own. This led to Princess Anle ordering the complete reconstruction of her own residence to be larger, more elaborate, and more expensive than her sisters. Their competition for wealth and attention soon escalated beyond harmless vanity. It became a massive drain on the treasury. Later folklore claims that Princess Anle even built a dedicated room in her palace filled with 3,000 mirrors, allowing her to admire her own beauty from every angle. Princess Anle and Princess Changning also began seizing land from commoners to expand their private estates. Families who refused to sell were accused of obstructing imperial projects and beaten until they agreed to surrender their property. It was said that entire villages near the capital were evicted so that Princess Anle could build new pavilions, hunting grounds, or artificial lakes. In 709 CE, Princess Anle compelled her father to commission the creation of the 100-bird skirt, her ultimate trophy of luxury. This was a special skirt that would be woven using feathers from over 100 different species of birds. She had to wait until her mother became emperor to become the crown princess, but she could be the most glamorous princess before then. The sheer scale of the project came with an incredible cost. To gather the material, elite military troops were dispatched to the mountains of the south. The army that was meant for defending the borders were instead ordered to be used against wildlife. This massive hunting campaign swept through the mountains and valleys, causing a devastating effect on the environment. And the financial cost was enormous. Modern interpretations estimate that the project's total expense consumed an amount close to 1/10 of the National Treasury's annual revenue. Highly skilled weavers separated the down and fine feather threads, winding them onto silken filaments. Using threads of gold and silk dyed in corresponding hues, they wove the delicate material into a single seamless fabric. The skirt shimmered and changed color depending on the angle of the light, showing one color in the sunlight and another in the shade. This beautiful skirt became the crowning symbol of Princess Anle's decadence. The empire was in turmoil, and the treasury was depleted. But so what? She had the most incredible skirt in the world. The one thing left to do now was to collect on the promise that her father had made. She was ready to become the crown princess. On July 3, 710 CE, Emperor Zhongzong suddenly died. Official historical records claim that he was poisoned by his wife, Empress Wei, and his daughter, Princess Anle. The poison was said to have been placed in a steamed bun or cake. With Emperor Zhongzong out of the way, Empress Wei could take her place as the second female emperor of China, and Princess Anle would become the crown princess, exactly as Emperor Zhongzong had promised, although probably not exactly as he had meant. The two women immediately attempted to seize control. They delayed announcing the emperor's death and installed Emperor Zhongzong's youngest son, Li Chongmao, as the new puppet emperor. They would continue to emulate Wu Zetian's rise to power and declare Empress Wei the Empress Dowager and regent. But the plan was discovered by Shangguan Wan'er and Princess Taiping. They tried to negotiate a peaceful sharing of power, which Empress Wei quickly rejected. She would never become the next female emperor if she had to share power. Princess Taiping gathered support from the remaining Tang Dynasty loyalists and formed an alliance with her nephew Li Longji to take down Empress Wei. On the night of July 21st, 710 CE, they stormed the imperial palace. This was the Tang Long coup. Empress Wei was quickly found and immediately executed. Meanwhile, Princess Anle, completely unaware of the chaos outside her compound, was preparing for her glorious future. According to a dramatic account in the New Book of Tang, she was in her private residence, attended by a young male lover. She was sitting by her dressing table, painting her eyebrows. When she finally heard the commotions outside, it was too late. She attempted to flee, but was quickly chased down and killed. She was 25 years old. Her 100-bird skirt was found and burned as a symbol of destroying the corruption and decadence that she had created. The story of Princess Anle is often presented as a cautionary tale of excess, ambition, and destruction. Princess Anle was born from the red makeup era, and in many ways also signaled its end. She is remembered as an entitled child who undermined the very world that empowered her. But could her life have been any other way? She grew up in exile and in poverty, and then she saw firsthand the authority that Wu Zetian commended. I guess it made sense that she found security in absolute power. She wanted to be just like her grandmother. And there was no fault in that. Anyone can try to seize power, as long as they have the ability to use that power wisely. As the ancient Chinese saying goes, 德不配位，必有灾殃, which means if virtue does not match the position, then disaster is sure to happen. Princess Anle may have inherited Wu Zetian's ambition, but she lacked her grandmother's strength for governance. She may have shared Wu Zetian's flaws, but she sadly had none of her virtues. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed today's topic, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Stay curious, stay magical.